Did you receive a check for a free $1,400 from the US government in the mail? Did you think it might be a scam? Let's find out. Hey, welcome back in the channel, you guys. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Thanks for being here, Rockstars. We're about halfway through the month. This is absolutely incredible how time flies. We were just talking about Christmas and New Year's, and here we are most of the way through January of 25. And I want to talk about these $1,400 checks I got a message and an email about 2 weeks ago on, and then lo and behold, what would show up into my mailbox. So if you haven't heard, the U.S. government is sending out a free $1,400 to over 1 million U.S. taxpayers. And so listen to this. A couple of days ago, probably early, middle last week, I had a text message from Caitlin, my fiance, and she said, hey, we have something in the mailbox that you might want to grab right away. So we don't actually have a mailbox here at my house. We have a mailbox bundle. It's in the corner of our circle. We don't have a mailbox in front of each and every house. You go up to the bundle of mailboxes each day, usually while we walk the dog or whatever. It's just, like 8 or 9 houses down. And Caitlin, so we don't check our mail every day. That's the story. We don't check our mail. I usually get it like once a week because there's nothing that comes into my mail that I don't already have in my email or that's not junk mail or that I typically care about. Around Christmas, we get Christmas cards. But other than that, I don't care what's in that stupid mailbox, generally ever. Well, Caitlin gets the digital USPS mail notice. So she gets an email every day and it shows her a picture of each piece of mail that's being delivered. That's not like a grocery store magazine. If it comes in an envelope or an actual piece of mail, she gets a picture of it. And one of those pieces of mail was from the Department of the U.S. Treasury, which is an interesting piece of mail to get because you don't normally get that mail ever. Now, I have gotten plenty of mail from the IRS when I owe a bill. And generally, I pay the IRS every single year, and they will send me a notice in the mail. Even if I pay it online, they'll send me the notice saying, you owe us X amount of dollars. If you've already made your payment, disregard this. Or, hey, you owe us, this amount. You owed 10 grand. You've paid us 8,000. You have a balance of 2 grand, or you overpaid. We'll send you back $200 or what have you, right? And that says IRS on it. This one said the Department of Treasury, which is a little different. And if you don't know about the Department of Treasury, they are typically the people that enforce financial crimes. If you do something bad, they show up to your house, usually with handcuffs and guns and badges, and they arrest you. Well, that's a place I don't want to get a piece of mail from because it typically means you've done something wrong. And I'm like, well, I paid my taxes. I don't owe the IRS any money, and I have not committed any financial crimes, so why are they sending me a piece of mail? And I was like, that's very interesting. I've never gotten mail from them. So, of course, the first thing I did was hurried on over to the mailbox, pull it out, open it up, and what do I find inside? I find a certified, sealed with the government little logo on it, and I'll put a picture of it up here for you, check from the U.S. government in the amount of $1,400. And I said to self, why would the U.S. government be paying you $1,400? And I didn't understand. I was confused. I'm like, well, I owed taxes in 2024 last year. And during tax season, I paid those taxes in full. In fact, I actually paid a little more than what I probably should have for a couple of various reasons. And I actually was thinking maybe they owed me money. And I was like, did they owe me $1,400? And that's a really weird amount because it was an even $1,400. I'm like, even if they owed me money, it never comes out to like an exact round number, right? So I pulled up my taxes and I'm like, well, no, everything looks right. In fact, I actually went back and recalculated and said, man, if they owe me anything, it's very little, a couple of pennies. And I applied it to my next taxes. And I always check that box. If there's ever an overage, just apply it to my next bill because I'm always going to owe the IRS. I always pay the IRS. And so 1099s haven't even come out this year. And I'm like, well, I definitely owe the IRS again. And, by April, I got to pay them by April. But it's not due. I'm not overdue. And they certainly wouldn't know whether I overpaid this year or not. So I started Googling, and what I found was pretty interesting. And I know I kind of drug this story out, but it is, according to the IRS, in 2021, over 1 million taxpayers were due a refund for the stimulus program, for the tax refund rebate program, which was part of the COVID recovery plan. And so that's why they sent out $1,400, which is pretty weird because when COVID came around, how many people remember getting those $600, $1,200, $1,800 checks? If you had a single person, you probably got 600. If you were married, a couple, you probably got 1,200. If you had a kid or two kids, you could have got like 1,800 or 2,400. Those stimmy checks, right? Well, I didn't get one. I never got any of that because I'm single, but there was monetary requirements to that if you made over X amount of dollars, you weren't entitled to that money. And it was a pretty high number. They gave that money to everyone. If I'm not mistaken, somebody fact check me on this. That number was like $80,000, $90,000. It was high. It was really, really high, where I was like, man, everyone's getting this check. And of course, Caitlin, my fiance, runs a photography business, but she doesn't make more than that amount of money. She makes a great amount of money for her entrepreneur business as being a photographer and working 6 or 7 or 8 months out of the year. And she does not make, 6 figures. You had to make almost 6 figures to be disqualified from the stimulus package. And so she was entitled to, I think, like a $600 check. They might have sent out a second one. I can't remember what she got. I don't know. That's her money. And our finances, our bills are together. But what money she makes, she pays her bills and she takes care of her stuff. And then any money she has after that, she uses for, gas, groceries, contributing to the household. And, even when we get married, it'll be the same. We both have a linked bank account. I have one and she has one, and they're linked. And then I have the business account. And so everything is commingled and together, and it's her money is mine and my money is hers, but I don't take any money from her. And so she got those checks, and I don't know what she did with it. Who knows? Probably put it into her business. I did not, however, get those checks because I made the business. It asked if you are a business owner, if you get W-2s to total up your W-2s, and if you're over that amount, you won't get it. But if you own a business, what was the business's reported income? And of course, my business made over that amount of money. My business does much more than $80,000 or $90,000. And so I was typing that in, and it said, due to your income level, you do not qualify for this refund. And I said, oh, that's fine, whatever. And that was the end of it. I never got a stimulus check. I never got any of that kind of money, right? So lo and behold, me getting a $1,400 check for stimulus is pretty weird. And so I went on and I did some more research now, fast forward to now, and I looked in Reddit forums and on Google and on social media and posts that people had put up on forum boards. And everybody is saying that I wasn't supposed to get that money, and that them sending this $1,400 out is in fact a mistake, and they shouldn't be sending this out, which is kind of crazy because I don't... nothing the government, the U.S. government does ever surprises me. So they put those requirements out to stop people that were, significant earners, above average earners, from collecting government money that you didn't need. And I didn't need the money. I was doing just fine. In fact, we did really, really good in 2021. The $1,400 is not going to make a difference then or now. It's helpful. I love it. Thank you very much for paying some bills. But that money was intended for people that actually needed it, that had businesses that were struggling, businesses that might have gone out of business. They didn't have an income, people that were laid off, furloughed, had to stay at home because buildings were closed. That's what that money was for. And any additional money that was printed should not have been given to people like me or anybody else in my position or higher, much higher than me, because we didn't need the money. And it's not to brag or anything like that. It's just facts. We weren't in a position where it was economically disaster for us. COVID sucked for everyone, but the online sales did well for me. And even if it hadn't, my financial situation at the time and now is good. And I had just sold a home, and so I had pocketed quite a bit of profit. So I was even in better position. So I don't know why the U.S. government is sending me $1,400. In fact, I haven't actually deposited that check as of today. And I have mobile deposit where I can just snap a picture of it and deposit it. And I was like, man, I feel like the government is going to ask for this money back in 90 days or 6 months when they realize they made an oops. And so my thought process was, well, should I contact them? Should I reach out to them and go, hey, I think you guys made a mistake? There's really no one to contact. I mean, call the IRS directly. I guess I could. So, what to do? Should I deposit it? Should I send it back and return to sender? It's an interesting, proposition, but it's the government, right? They made a mistake. Maybe they didn't. Maybe I was entitled to that money and I didn't realize that the requirements were X and that it had certain, exceptions to the rule. I don't know. I'm not honestly understanding why they sent me $1,400. But I think the ultimate choice that I'm going to make is I'm going to deposit the check and I'm going to put it in the bank, and I might transfer that money over to like one of my side. I have a couple, like a side savings and a side thing account where I'll put it in there and I'll let it draw some tiny amount of interest. And if at any time they ask for it back, they'll certainly have it back. I don't care. And if not, then it'll just sit in there and accrue some interest, and it is what it is. But that money that was printed really caused a lot of inflation in this country. It was, money that we were printing that we, and I say we, the government didn't really have. They were just pulling money out of thin air. And so any excess money that they end up sending out, and when you talk about 1 million taxpayers getting $1,400, let's do the math. I'll show you how I break down math. 1 million 10 times is 10 million. 1 million 100 times is 100 million. And 1 million 1,000 times is 1 billion. And so if it's $1,400, we know that 400 million, we know that it's $1.4 billion is what the U.S. government is sending out to taxpayers that did not collect that check. $1.4 billion. That's a lot of money. It's a huge amount of money. My $1,400 doesn't amount to much of anything. It might help some people pay a mortgage or a rent or for 1 month, but $1.4 billion is a lot of money to just be sending out and not helping our country's deficit and debt and inflation. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. How many people watching this video recently got that check or that direct deposit? They did direct deposits, I guess, as well, for $1,400. Put your hand up. Don't be ashamed. It's fine. If you didn't get it back then and you got it now, you're entitled to it, I suppose. The government says so. And who am I to question my U.S. government, right? Who am I to question them? I say that in all honesty. Not. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people asked me if it was a scam, if it was a fraud. Are they going to get in trouble for cashing this check? And my answer to them at the time was, I don't know. Cash the check and find out, I guess. But turns out the check is real. The check is a thank you from the U.S. government for not filing for stimmies back in the day. And now they're giving it out. Free money, $1.4 billion. Anyhow, that's the story on the $1,400 check. Interesting topic of conversation. I'm sure I'm going to get some lovely comments on this one. I can't wait to read them. Guys, I didn't ask for the money. I never claimed it. I never tried to take it illegally. Like a lot of people remember those guys that were taking what was it? Those forgivable loans and paying like $3 million for a house and $300,000 for a Lamborghini. Yikes. Yeah, those guys are all in jail. So whatever the government wants to send to me, look, I pay a lot of taxes, tens of thousands of dollars a year in taxes, and I'm not mad about them sending me $1,400. So thank you, Uncle Sam. I appreciate it. And if it's wrong, just give me a call and I'll send it back. As always, thank you for watching, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. And until next time, make sure you check out those links below. They're super important, including the tax virtual event, January 21st, 2025. That is 1 week from Tuesday, 1 week from yesterday, 6 days. Mark 2, Not Your Dad's CPA, is having a free virtual tax event for resellers, online sellers, e-commerce entrepreneurs. You can learn all about taxes, deductions, everything you need to know in a free event. He's going to do some giveaways. He'll have access to his CPA services if you're interested in that, and also his tax academy. So go check out that. It will be linked below. Tell him Rockstarflipper sent you. And make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Come back and watch me real soon. And I will see everyone next time.